Hey man, you found what you're looking for and it's going to be a glanative ride. That's because much what passes for humor in this studio is about as unconnected and context-free as it gets. Consider yourself warned, Scro. I'll see you at the betting window for the 6th race.
This is the Brain Software Podcast, coming to you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. I'm Chris Thompson, and today I talk with our resident hypnosis and NLP trainer, Mike Mandel, about all things Lieberman and more. This is part 2 of where we started last time, so stay tuned.
Yeah, how are you tonight? Thanks again. Nice to be here in Owen Sound, the land of permanently out of date and that. Nice jacket there, buddy. Holly. Haha, get it? Buddy Holly. Stay away from single-engine aircraft, sir. Don't worry, that BG Saturday Night Fever jacket will come back in style in about 6,000 years, so don't wait up. I'm telling you, Gus Grissom could land a space shuttle on one of those lapels. I can tell by just looking at you that you make your own clothes and you cut your own hair, right? I bet. And that, some areas of life are best left alone. Put your hand in your pocket and hire some professionals. I just flew in from Meaford, and boy, is my Canada Goose ever tired. Hey, that's a swell joke. Well, what do you call a hypnotist who's a dick? Answer, entered. I'm a hypnotist, eh? So there's a lot of hypnosis and LNP in my act. I hope you understand. And wake up now. And that. Yeah, so that's it for my 30 seconds of fame. You'll remember I did a 90-minute show and you gave me a standing ovation, so wide awake now and all that. Remember to drive safe. The winners don't do recreational drugs unless they're illegal and purchased from a government-run dispensary. And that. I'm here at the Downtowner in beautiful Owen Sound, Ontario. Every bastard Tuesday, be sure to tip your waitress, and if you still got any cash left, drop it all on Ballgasm in the 6th race. Thanks once again, and good night. Whatever happened to that old tranquility we used to know, and that.
These are days of victory. So let's welcome to the stage of the Downtowner Hotel a man who is unable to use a screwdriver. A man who has crows as friends. Yes, birds. And the only hypnosis trainer in the world who wishes it rained 300 days per year. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you Mike Mandel.
Yes, Chris. Notice I've mastered the setup. So
I know
I used
you
to
have.
whip my neck around, and now I move the entire body.
You
This
just
is
lurch.
because I care
You
so
lurch
much.
out of the frame.
Okay, I can stop looking
There
at
we go.
myself in the monitor, although
Okay.
I'm wearing this amazing lobster shirt.
You are. Now
Which
we're
is
getting
just freaking
serious.
awesome.
So this podcast, we're going to get to the think tank words, then we're going to actually get to the real content.
Quickly.
And to pre-frame the real content, we are continuing from episode 182, where...
Dr. David Lieberman stuff.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about Lieberman stuff, and we're continuing on with all the awesomeness that we didn't have a chance to wrap up in 182. So let's get on with the show. We're going to start with the... No, I don't think there's any super...
No
important
banter.
one. So let's just go straight to the think tank words, and these are to prompt our imagination.
Yes.
And bring them up into the conversation.
Pattern matching system
and
of
see
the brain.
see if they help us
First
out.
one is mild.
Oh, mild. Mild. Well, weather. I think about mild weather, which is not what we had yesterday. It was insanely sunny and hot. And my pool, I had accidentally heated to 92 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, thankfully, or we'd all be dead. And that was not mildly refreshing. That was insanely warm, and only mild refreshing in the evening when I went for a nice...
Evening.
I went for a nice
Making three
swim with
syllables.
my daughter. It was fun. We were just playing in the pool. It was wonderful. But that's what mild makes me think of is a balance.
Well, you know what it makes me think of? In high school, a friend of mine was running for school president, and he ran against this other guy who won. The guy's name was Dean. And his ads in school, it said, Dean, and I won't say his last name, it said, he's wild mild.
Wild mild.
I just thought he was a dick.
It doesn't even make any sense.
I know.
How can something be like, why? I want to go wild and order mild chicken wings.
Yeah, kind of pretty much.
know?
Now, the next one is weave.
Weave. Well, ooh.
I think of hypnosis weaving
I think
the
about
web of language.
intersection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So in
okay,
a mild way,
let's-
you want to weave things in a mild way so the person doesn't realize that you're being hypnotic. They don't have any defenses.
Now, this is freaking weird that the third word is braid.
I couldn't believe it.
As in
Braid your
Brado.
hair.
No, Brado. I'm kidding, not
as in
Brado.
James Braid, the hypnotist.
Yeah, actually, that does make sense. So if you think about it, weave and braid. Braid is simply another pattern of which you can interconnect fibers and make
You say
patterns.
Pfizer?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
Not saying wrong.
This podcast is not about that.
So
Most days.
we got these. So
All
we're
right.
going to think in terms of Braid. Braid discovered what was new. He observed. He was able to weave a new type of hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And thank God he wasn't Wild Mild.
And he wasn't mild. That's right. Okay, so let's
this is
see where
1
these
minute.
fit in with the topic.
This is literally 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to just 1 minute total of a recap. We said we love Dr. Lieberman's excellent book. Never Be
recapping
Lied to
182,
Again. Yeah,
right?
Never Be
Just to
Lied
make
to
sure.
Again. Just some salient points here. His instant analysis, another really good book. We love his books, and he talks about conveying honesty and truthfulness to someone else. Remember, maintain direct eye contact. You don't want to be furtive, like shifting your eyes around, like Jack the frickin' eye shifter.
That's right. I remember now. That was 2 weeks ago we recorded it.
That's right. So make direct eye contact. Use gestures to make a point.
Right. Blading of the hand, for example, but not the pointing of the finger.
Well, no,
right?
pointing is a sign of honesty, though.
It can be, unless it's in your face.
Right. Culturally,
Mm-hmm.
there's places you don't want to do that. Remember, in Disney World, if you ask for directions, they point with 2 fingers or they use their whole hand,
Mm-hmm.
which I like. So they're not doing the thing, which is, in some cultures, it's like seen almost like the evil eye. You point at somebody, you're sending your vibe out.
But not grandiose gestures.
Yeah,
which
just
can
gestures
come
make the
across
point,
as-
not the psychopathic grandiosity. Like, hey, buddy. Yeah. Don't do that.
Hey, buddy.
Stand or sit upright. Remember, no slouching. If you're upright, the way I am now, I'm just slouching in the
I'm doing that
slouchery.
right now.
Yeah. It sends a greater focus, a greater realism,
Right.
for want of a better term. And finally, I said, another one that's a key point is face the person head on.
Right.
Don't look sneaky. Don't be furtive. And don't be talking in another direction from them. Like,
which is hard on
right
this
now. I know.
podcast. Yeah.
So
unfortunately, we're not set up in true Joe Rogan style where they're across from each other. We're only using one camera for this podcast.
So, Chris.
So we're managing. All right.
New points.
All right, let's
now,
go.
the reason we think that this stuff that Lieberman's put out and related material is important is because it's very, very useful. If you adopt just a couple of these things consistently, you can have a better life. You can detect trickery more often. You'll be able to be a more efficient presenter. You'll be able to come across as a strong personality.
You'll be a better communicator.
You'll be a better communicator.
Both verbal and nonverbal.
Could you put that another way? I didn't understand you. Scary. Okay, so now here's one that came up. We didn't get to this last time, but it's a really, really clever way of detecting if someone is lying and deceiving you.
Okay.
A friend of mine, a little while ago, you've probably heard the story. I'll be quick here. It was a couple. We were friends with her, but we weren't friends with him.
Gotcha.
You know couples like that?
Yes.
And if you could hang out with just the one person, it'd be great, but you always got the baggage of the other person who sort of
Yes. I
wrecks
don't.
everything.
Nobody like that close to us, but I'm
I've
vaguely
I've
familiar.
fired them.
Right.
Anyway, so we got along with her really well, but not him so much. I always thought he was a bit sneaky. Well, she comes over one night and says to my wife and I, there's a problem. She said, I think my husband is running around on me with a woman in the Oshawa area. Now, they lived in Toronto. And I said, what makes you think that? She said, he's got an ex-girlfriend out there, and he's been there a couple of times a week, and said it's a work-related thing. She said, I think he's reconnected with her. She said, I wish you could find out. I said, I'll show you how. She said, really? I said, oh, it's quite easy. So here's the intervention I gave her.
Okay, I want to hear this.
You do this in a dissociated way. So when she went home that night, I said, make sure there's nothing between you on the table. No distractions, no TV on, no radio, nothing. Just you and him face to face, but not like an interrogation, just casually. And just say, a friend of mine's having some problems. I wonder if you could help me advise her. Now, he's a guy. He's going to want to fix it right away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure. What is it? So I said, look at him and say, she's found out that her husband is running around on her with a woman in the Oshawa area.
Oh.
What do you think she should do? I said, and just smile and shut up. Now, if you're him, if you're innocent, you're going to say, well, maybe have him followed or whatever. If you're guilty...
I'm going to get you to just reposition your mic so that
if
you
you're
can
guilty,
talk into it. Yeah.
right? It's going to stress him out. He won't know how to answer. Has he been caught or not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's going to go in big panic situation.
if he's not guilty, this is going to be completely... Now I look weird. I'm talking...
Yeah, I know. It's all this
if he's
weirdness.
not guilty...
Yeah.
He's going to answer this question like it's an ordinary question.
Right.
But if he is guilty, he's going to have a real hard time answering
in a
in a
minefield.
dissociated way, right?
Yeah. So here's his actual answer. I said, if he gets angry, you've got him. Why would he get angry? You're talking about your friend who he's never even met. His response was to freak out and say to her, "Why do you always suspect me all the time about everything?"
Burn!
Which was the wrong answer.
I would guess that
that's
he's
a great
guilty.
way of checking something.
So did she manage to end it with him?
Yes, she did actually.
Good,
he moved
good
out
woman.
to Alberta. So now the other one is the envelope trick. I taught this to someone else who had a relationship that was
What's
on the
the
rocks.
envelope trick?
Oh, it's a little mentalism thing. He suspected that she was running around on him and just the usual stuff. And he wanted to know. So when she came over one night, he thought she'd been running around with the guy at the college nearby. So what he did was he had an envelope with a folded piece of paper in with nothing on it.
Okay.
And it just said on the table between them. And she said, "What's that?" And he said, "I found something out about you. I've written 2 facts out in this envelope. And unless they come out in this conversation, this is over."
Wow.
And she, well, and then he just waited. And finally she admitted all about this guy. And the envelope was nothing in it. But it's the pressure of, So
Oh, man.
there's all kinds of things you can do. Now, Chris, we have an envelope here. Scary? Yeah. So let's talk about, Lieberman went on with his other books, and he said this is from Get Anyone to Do Anything, which is a fabulous book.
Okay, so this is like an influence book, in a
you just keep
sense.
talking about, drink some normal coffee
Okay,
here.
yeah, it is totally normal coffee. I just made it for you. I swear.
thanks, buddy.
There's nothing in it.
So he says how to make an awesome first impression on anyone. And he said, the second you meet, you should look at them and smile right away.
Big smile.
It's
Hi,
the,
great to meet
It's the
you.
law of primacy. Because their first impression will filter everything else. Like you probably had, like I have. You meet somebody and they have an underlying.
Let's see if we can get this.
It's pissing me off.
Reposition ourselves so we can. You can
So
actually.
anyway, you
it's
meet
fine.
someone. It's very casual now, isn't it?
Yeah,
very relaxed.
very relaxing, very artistic,
very creative.
Yeah.
Scary. We're back. So you meet somebody. If you smile initially, and they're looking at you, eye contact. Smiling sends a lot of different messages. It conveys confidence, enthusiasm, happiness, and acceptance of the other person.
Yes.
Now, imagine you meet someone for the first time, and they're like bitchered. Like they're not looking at you; they're just complaining.
Bitchered.
And it sends a horrible impression, right,
buddy?
So
that was. If I had to nail down one thing about my rapport building skills that helped me during my former corporate career,
right,
that was it. Whether it was when I was working as an engineer or later working as a stock analyst, when I would meet somebody, whether it be like a vendor that was trying to sell us something and I wanted to make sure we had a good relationship so I could always get information, or an executive of a company, always greeting them that first time, or a client, with that warm smile, like I was happy to be there.
Yeah, how did it work out for you?
Yeah, well, very well.
Excellent.
And then I left.
And Dr. Lieberman says it's because of something called the primacy effect.
People
now, you know,
remember that
with
first
hypnosis, Chris, when you're hypnotizing someone and you're giving a series of suggestions, your first one is critical.
The law of primacy in hypnosis states that the suggestion you give first will become most powerful, because when you give suggestion 2 and suggestion 3, it's going to automatically reinforce suggestion 1.
True.
So I
Heteroaction.
think, yeah, there you go. Exactly. Through the principle of heteroaction, which you taught me many, many years ago. So the primacy rule in this case is the first impression they get about you
is the
will
one that
then
everything
be
else is filtered through.
Reinforced when they're,
Yeah, he put it very simply. He said the order we get information is crucial.
Oh, isn't that clever? Okay.
Yeah, that's really nice. Remember, this guy's a psychologist. He's not, just some idiot. So I love his stuff. He said the phrasing of a question will affect the response. And they had 2 paragraphs that were identical, except for one word. And so they read the one paragraph to a group of people and ask them, what they think of the driver of this car. Then they read the other paragraph to a different group and ask them what they think. The only difference was, in one group, the word was smashed, and the other one was hit.
Okay, like a car. You're talking about a car. I see in the
car
notes
accident.
Here. So in a car accident, the car smashed, or he smashed
into such and such,
or hit,
another, hit a telephone pole.
So smashed into versus hit, basically.
And when they said smashed, everybody
You're
thought
reckless.
The guy was like a
You're just
reckless,
crazy.
drunken lunatic
driver.
And if he hit a telephone pole, they were willing to give him the
death penalty.
Yeah, they're willing to give him testicular torture and the death. No, when he just hit, then they sort of downplayed it in their minds and saw him as, he just sort of lost control of the car, maybe hit some wet leaves or something.
In a way, so this reminds me in hypnosis, the concept of painted words, right?
Yeah.
So you have words that are painted, like, what would you say for something like, well, pain is a painted word.
It is.
Versus discomfort, which is very
pressure,
neutral, for example, pressure or that
sensation,
feeling or sensation, right? Yeah, so hate might be a painted word, dislike less so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's say. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't apply only in hypnosis. That's why this podcast is so awesome, because we bring together hypnosis with everything life.
Because it's all about you.
That's
now,
right.
Here's the thing. He said, the car smash versus hit affected their perception of speed.
Oh,
just that one word.
Sure,
they thought he was being reckless. But, we compare stuff all the time, the law of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing on one of the series on Netflix.
The Netflix.
On the Netflix.
The Netflix.
On Netflix. We were watching this series, and one of the women in this series was quite attractive. But...
Was this The Blacklist?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
And then on one episode, Jennifer Aniston was a guest on that program.
Yeah. I got to get you tucked straight into that.
Well,
sucker.
I'm not going to look at you anymore. How's that?
Okay,
Jennifer
that's fine.
Aniston was a guest.
Yeah.
And she has star quality, and this other woman didn't. And when they were in the same episode, the other woman looked bland. It's the law of comparison, right? The law of comparison.
Yeah.
Because we're always being comparisons. Remember, Robert Cialdini talked about the pool table store. Guy comes in, wants to buy a pool table. Oh, I don't want to spend much money. I only want to spend this. So he says, just let me show you our super premium table. You've got to see this thing.
Yeah, even though it's out of your budget, I want to show this to you so you know what you can. I mean, even if you're honest about it and say, just so you can understand what features
is available
in a premium end pool table, so that you know what you're willing to cross off your list. Let me show you this, right?
So they show him this with all the bells and whistles. Now he goes to look at the cheap one that he was considering buying. And it looks terrible because of the law of comparison.
Yes, so
the
he
other
picks
one has filled his
middle
mind.
Of the road. He ends up spending more money than he intended. Now, is this unethical? I would say no, because you're not telling someone in some sneaky way, oh, you're going to spend more money. You're showing someone the high end, and you may be saving them from making a disastrous mistake.
Right.
Like, for example, Mike, when back a year and a bit ago, when these iPhone 11 Pro Max were the finest iPhones on the market,
they were.
If we had just decided to buy ourselves the iPhone SE, we wouldn't be very happy.
No,
right now.
Chris, we wouldn't. Although my phone was garbled today, as you know. Now, listen, let's talk about this comparison thing again. Even in our language, Chris Voss gives a great example. We're talking about FBI negotiator here.
Oh, yeah.
He gives an example in his master class. If he wants an upgrade in a hotel or wants to check out at 2 p.m. and there's absolutely 11 has to be the last thing, he doesn't phone them. He goes down to the front desk.
Okay, because he's in person.
And he says to the person, he said to the woman, hi, my name is Chris. I'm in room 216. And I'm about to absolutely ruin your day. I said, what? He said, I need a 2 p.m. checkout.
Oh, I love it. So he turns into humor.
Yeah, but by saying, I'm going to absolutely ruin your day, she's prepared for the worst. And then when he says, I need a 2 p.m. checkout, she's, oh, that's it? It's nothing, so she gives it to him.
You know what that reminds me of from Cialdini's
Something
work?
brilliant I said?
No. Yes. Okay, Cialdini's, one of his rules is the rule of reciprocity, as you know.
Of course.
Well, one of the, I'm looking for the right word here, I'm not going to find it, so I'll just explain it. One of the subsets of that rule is called the rule of reciprocity by backing down. So when you start by asking for the moon, right? And the person goes, oh, well, I want 100% raise. No, that's absurd. All right, I'll be fine with an extra week of vacation and a 10% raise.
Yeah.
Oh, that seems much more reasonable, right? Or you could joke, like I would teach parents, like you tell the kid, oh, you've got to go to bed in 10 minutes, Johnny. And Johnny, what are you talking about? No, it's it. You go, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. You claim mistake. I didn't realize it's only 8 o'clock. You actually have to go to bed in an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, that's okay suddenly. It's the rule of reciprocity by backing down. So in this case, he's not even making the request. He's just framing it like, I'm going to wreck your day. as a bit of a joke, and then he's backing down.
Yeah, but this isn't reciprocity.
It's not the same thing. It
No,
just
not which makes me wonder why we're talking about it. Interesting, because that was a really funny line.
It isn't the same thing at all.
Now listen,
it's just something I'm weaving, Mike, and I'm weaving and braiding.
He's going to extremes first.
Yes.
So the person's braced for the worst, and then it's not that bad.
Yes.
It's not that bad. I've done that when I, bought books and stuff.
Or I've got good news and bad news. Do you want to do that one?
Oh yeah,
that's
one of my favorites.
Mm.
When you only use this with a friend, we should do a YouTube video on this.
Oh, for sure.
But it's one of my favorite things. You say, I've got some good news and some bad news. So right away, the person stresses out.
And the way you deliver it is so key,
and you
right?
say, the good news is in two parts. So I'll give you that first thing. Okay. First part of the good news is that there isn't any bad news. And everyone relaxes, and then you tell them the good news. Now, on your friends, you do it the other way.
Yeah.
You say, I got some good news and some bad news. And they go, oh, okay. I better give you the bad news first because it's in two parts. And they go, oh, okay, what's the first part? There isn't any good news. And, oh. And then you give them the bad news
is something
so
irrelevant.
much worse.
Like, yeah. Yeah. The bad news is like something, you're out of coffee.
Yeah.
We need to make another pot.
That's right.
Okay.
It could be anything like that. But he also says, Lieberman says in the book, if you go in to get your car checked out and it's making weird noises and it's not braking properly, and they say, this could be the transmission. We may have a differential problem here. I think the engine might need to be replaced. They go down this list and you're like, oh no. Then you drop it off. They call you later and say, oh, you're lucky it only needed a brake job.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fantastic.
All I needed is a new cotter pin.
A new car.
Yeah. The part was 15 cents and the labor was an hour and a half.
How are we doing for time?
We are good. We're at about the 22-minute mark, so we have plenty of time. We're in really good shape.
Okay. Now, this is an interesting thing. Let's go down to... I want to get to this.
The from instant analysis stuff?
Yes.
All right.
Now, here's a cool thing he said you can do. He said, do a 10-minute brainstorm to regain control of your life. No limits. What would you like to learn, to have, to do, or to give? So he said, you just sit down, grab a piece of paper and say, what do you really want out of life? Just dream big. What do you want? Just 10 minutes.
That's what we were brainstorming on the whiteboard last week.
That is correct.
Start with the intuitive. What are the biggest areas of your life that you'd like to improve? Before you do any formal homework, just intuitively
just throw the stuff out there. Yeah. And
purely unconscious that way, right?
Right. So you're in green hat mode. You're just generating ideas. Throw all the stuff out, and then prioritize it as soon as you got it. What's the most important on here? What are you willing to put the time in? When are you going to start it? And bang, bang, bang. It can be a tremendous trigger to get moving.
I love that. And the idea being, so we often, Mike and I have been talking about thinking of things in terms of spectrums.
Why are you telling me as I'm not here?
In this case,
you look at me and you said, Mike and I have been talking about.
I'm trying to look at you.
Hello, have I become transparent?
In this case, the spectrum is conscious to unconscious.
Yeah.
And so if I said to you, name a happy childhood memory, first impression, or even better, say, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer with your first impression quickly. What's your first favorite childhood memory that you can think of right now? And they'll, boom, you're framing in advance, so they've got to answer immediately.
Yeah.
It's purely unconscious because there's no time to consciously evaluate. Something's going to spark your memory, and you're going to go, oh, yeah, it was the time I got that helium balloon at the circus, and, whatever it is. That's going to come up. That's unconscious.
Well, that's a good point.
And so I think this kind of 10-minute brainstorming, you're forcing what really do I want to improve in my life without analysis. Hence,
and that's the key. It's the no analysis, because during any creative phase, the last thing you want to be doing is analyzing it, because these are just seeds that are turning into tendrils of the very first ideas. And if you stomp all over those right away,
absolutely,
you could miss great ideas.
By the way, speaking of disappointment,
here we go.
So you've asked me for a while.
Yeah.
By Edward de Bono, not Bono. I keep saying Bono because I'm a big U2 fan. Edward de Bono's books. You asked me to buy the 6 Thinking Hats and the 6 Action Shoes.
I don't remember asking you. I seem to remember commanding you.
Yeah, you're like, and I said, yes, Mike, I'm going to do it. Yes, Mike, I'm going to do it. And then one day I thought, F it, I'm just going to get on Amazon. I bought older hardcover copies, really happy, got them.
Yeah.
And the 6 Thinking Hats, I have a critical complaint. I was so dissatisfied because on the cover, you see the thinking hats, and the red one looks orange.
Okay, that's cause for concern. Yeah. Like, these lobsters are
How disappointed are you?
What color are these? Are they the color of a thinking hat, Chris? Is your question?
I think you're right. Yeah, they're about the same. There you go.
I have no idea where we just went with that, but I'm looking at myself in the monitor to make a point. I'm just admitting it. Okay.
There we
so
go.
listen, we need to do, because we're zipping through this commercial like Jack the frickin' commercial zipper. we
Zipping
need
through
to
the
go
podcast,
to,
you mean?
Yeah, buddy. That's what I'm trying to say.
We want to do the commercial and then come back
We're
to
going to
finish
do
the
that.
instant
That's what we're going to do,
stuff?
buddy.
All
we
right.
got a bunch of stuff to
All
do
right,
today.
so here we go.
Tonight on the Steven Tyler Network.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Box Stars. What can I get started for you?
Thank you. I'll have a double latte with cinnamon and a twist of lemon peel.
Sure thing, sir. And that's a beautiful double raven ring you're wearing, if I may be so bold.
Thanks. I willed it into being yesterday. I just said presto, and there it was.
Willed it into being. Wow.
Yeah, it's a knack. In fact, don't put the twist of lemon peel in my coffee cup. I'll do it myself. There.
That's amazing, sir. If you move down the line, I'll set your coffee on the counter when it's ready.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll need a name for the cup so I can call you when it's ready.
Yeah, sure. It's spelled Gomez, Gomez, but it's pronounced Merlin.
Merlin, you said presto earlier, and then there was the raven ring and the appearing twist of lemon. And you are wearing a black robe. Mr. Gomez, Merlin. Are you actually a wizard?
I'm not sure. I might be. I'm headed to the library today to borrow a grimoire, and then with a bit of practice, I should be able to conjure up my own coffee shop. Well, keep your spells clean and your amulet polished.
Larry Gomez, the man who might be a wizard, tonight on the Anton LaVey Network.
Now, one of the problems people have, Chris, and I'm sure you run into this too, is people set expectations that are crazy. They're not believable. I remember Tony Robbins said he was doing a lecture once or a talk somewhere, and a guy came up to him afterwards and said, "Oh, you've completely, blown my mind with all this stuff. I'm going to start applying this. I'm going to make my first $10 million this year."
Yeah.
And this is like the end of February. He said, "Okay, so you got 10 months.
You got 10 months to make
you got to
$10
get
million.
started
You gotta
like
make
right away."
$1 million a
So
month
that
on
is
average.
an unrealistic expectation. So how are you going to determine what a realistic expectation is? Because Lieberman talks of setting yourself free, giving yourself freedom, declaring yourself free from old and unmet expectations.
Well, okay, so to weave in the hypnosis angle again here, oftentimes we will talk about the idea of if a client wants to overcome a problem, we might ask them to future pace and imagine it's already now done, and then write their own prescription. What did you do to achieve that?
Right, so they're doing the as-if frame.
And then, of course, you can use hypnosis, and you can give them all of the suggestions and the guided imagery and metaphors to support it and direct suggestions, whatever you want, to get them to actually act out the path that's already congruent in their unconscious mind because they invented it.
Right.
And the same thing essentially happens here where you can ask somebody, all right, so if you had made that $10 million, what did you do to achieve it? And if the guy can't say, wow, if his best answer is I won the lottery in that.
Yeah, or I put a bunch of money on the sixth race.
Put it all on ballgasm. Yeah. That's where you'll be able to test, I think, for realism, right? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Because anything like that, it's not just whether it's realistic, but as hypnotists, we say it's got to be ecological too.
Absolutely.
Not just for the person who has the idea of what they want to do, but for their family and the people in their circle of friends. How many people say when they won the lottery, there's a high percentage of people, it actually wrecked their lives.
Yeah, I suppose that's true because if you win the lottery, first of all, any big changes in your life, we always talk about how when there are major changes in your life, it's a good idea to do a new values hierarchy.
Because things have changed.
Right. And so if you win the lottery, all of a sudden the financial side of your life has massively changed and you don't necessarily do that values hierarchy, you might screw things up.
Well, yeah. And especially with something like, winning, say you win $30 million or something. What do you think the chances are that relatives and friends you haven't seen in 30 years come out of the woodwork?
Suddenly start showing up.
Oh, yeah. And I know you can afford it. All I need is $60,000 to pay off my house. And shut up.
Yeah, it can cause some serious problems.
Well, it's a thing that drives me nuts. My wife and I have talked about this lately. Well, within the last few months, year. Two different friends I have not seen in many years. We just sort of lost touch, and that was fine with me. Not great friends, but moderately good friends. Just reappeared in my life. One of them, I hadn't
What
seen
did
him
they
in,
want?
Well, I hadn't seen one in 15 years. And he decided he wanted to be a therapist. And I could tell because he said, if I took your course, would I be able to do therapy? And I said, yes, within the constraints of the law, you would.
Right.
And he kept hinting, and I realized he wanted me to give him our entire course for free.
He wanted to just
come to Toronto.
get completely free training. Yeah.
This is a guy who lives in not far from here, in Brooklyn, Ontario.
Okay.
And so I said, yeah, just go to the webpage. Here's the link. Click and sign up. Pay your free. Never heard from him again.
Yeah.
The other friend, hadn't seen him since I saw him at a funeral 13, 14 years ago. Oh, hi, we're thinking about you guys. We miss you. What? You miss me? You haven't contacted me in 14 years. Oh, but his daughter has a phobia, and he knows I'm the one to fix it.
Oh, yes, of course.
Favor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said, here's a list of our certified hypnotists online. Find somebody who you resonate with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? The ability to say no to people.
Oh, man, that's a powerful thing.
This is, so we're going to do a quick tangent off of
Let's
this
do that,
conversation,
because we're moving into our...
we're going to move in. I think that
move in the mover.
Yeah, we've got only a few more major points here that we want to cover anyway, and then we're good. But so here's a thing that, again, spectrums, right? Should you in life think in terms of spectrums? What happens at one end of the spectrum? What happens at the other? Usually, both options suck.
Yeah.
And I'll give you one example right now: the yes/no spectrum.
Okay.
If you always say no, your life will suck because you will never do anything interesting. Would you like to go to this new restaurant?
No,
Would you like to take this yoga class?
No,
Would you
I'm
like
not
to
into
watch
that.
this movie?
No, I wouldn't want
Would you like to go on vacation to the Caribbean?
Yeah.
No. Your life is going to be so frickin' boring. What happens at the other end of the spectrum if you say yes to everything?
Then you have no life because you wind up just being
over.
everybody's servant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that would suck, right?
Yeah.
So the rule that I thought about a few years back, and I crystallized this into the simple statement of say yes to
but mean no.
Say yes to everything that you don't have a good reason for saying no to. Now, obviously, there's some judgment you have to apply there. But if you have a good reason to say no, like, I don't want to help you for free. I don't want you to just come back. I know that I haven't seen you in 14 years, and you're only contacting me because you think I can help erase someone's phobia, and you don't want to pay me. And I don't even want to take clients because I know that's your position right now. You're not looking for new paid clients.
No, I'm
on
not.
This. So you know that is something that you have a reason to say no to.
Right.
Say, here you go, and you offer the alternative instead, right?
Yes. So that they can still get rid of their phobia, whatever. However, can send them to someone good. Oh, I know you're the only one. Yeah.
If there is no good reason to say no, then challenge yourself to say yes because you might enjoy a new experience.
Now, that's interesting. Right. This inability to say no is a horrendous thing. We have a mutual friend, Paul.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and he can't say no.
He cannot say no, which means the feeling he gets when he says no is worse than the feeling he gets.
Tell him to say yes.
It's worse than the feeling he gets when he does what he doesn't want to do. So I'll give you an example. Back in the 80s, the late 80s, people they just moved from shoulder, huge cameras to little handheld VHS, or whatever they were, microcassette recorders. And Paul, as a favor for a friend, because his background is radio and television arts from Ryerson University.
Wedding videography?
He did a wedding video for someone and went to the trouble of editing it and everything. Oh, they were all over it. They were thrilled. He did it for free for a friend.
Right.
Then it became this, Chris. Oh, I hear you do wedding videos. I hear you do. And I'm not making this up. One summer, every single weekend in the summer, I'm not kidding. He showed me every single one. He was doing a wedding video for someone, and he wasn't getting paid because he'd done all the others for free. How can he ask for money now? And I said, Paul, here's what you say. No, he always tried to, I don't know if I can fit in this weekend. It would really help us, though, Paul. It'd be all the pressure.
I'm sure it would.
I said, here's what you say.
I don't do wedding videos anymore.
I don't do wedding videos anymore.
Right.
Well, you did for so-and-so. You're right, I did, but I don't do them anymore.
So the agree and repeat. This is the agree and repeat strategy. We teach it for free on our website, etc.
Yes.
The simple version is you agree in principle with what the person is saying.
Understood.
In other words, I understand what you're saying. and doesn't matter in this case.
I don't do videos.
And repeat your purpose. I don't do wedding videos anymore. Boom. And eventually they get it, right? This is like the first thing I learned from you in 1992.
Yes, Dr.
No,
Manuel,
1993. 1993.
Dr. Manuel Smith stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't your first stage hypnosis show that I saw in 92.
Okay.
It was when you did the brain software keynote in 93.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I went, this is amazing. Just agree in principle and then restate your outcome.
Yeah. And how many times do you have to do it? Just one more time than him.
That was what you said back then. You go, how many times do you need to repeat yourself?
One more time than they ask. Just be the last one.
That's it.
It's so freaking easy. You don't even have to be paying attention.
It was mind-blowingly simple and effective, and it still works to this day.
I did this, and the worst, I was nearly ground down. Years ago, one of my agents, I had a number of agents who booked me for hypnosis shows. There was a place called, it was out in the West End. It was called Appleton's or something like that.
Okay.
In Oakville. It was a nightclub. I was booked there, did a kick-ass show. They booked me back 3 months later. I did a kick-ass show. I said, I don't want to be that often. They booked me a month later. Did a kick-ass show, and I said, look, I need a year off from this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing... Oh, okay. I'm downtown dicking around with Paul Pacific, and I get a call.
Hey,
and they
Mike,
said,
we booked you.
We booked you. Somehow it got booked. You're there tonight. And I said, I'm not doing the gig. I told you guys, this is going to look really bad on us. We went ahead and booked it. And
no,
we didn't
my problem.
I said, I'm sure it will, but I'm not doing that gig. Oh, this is going to be the worst thing imaginable for us, and it's a nightmare. Can't you just do it? And I said, I know how you feel, but I'm not doing it. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But man, did they try.
They try, and you just had to say,
No.
I understand
How
that
you
you
feel.
booked me tonight. I know how you feel. I'm sure you will look bad.
Yeah. But I'm not doing it.
But you're not saying, but it isn't my problem, because
No.
that's dickish.
Just tell them I'm not
You go,
doing it.
I'm not doing the gig.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Simple
right.
as that.
So, and I'm still here. Nothing
This
happened.
is such a good strategy.
Okay, well, listen, let's go on to our empowering question.
Oh, wait, we have one more point, which
No,
was...
I don't think we should.
Yeah, we got to do it. Free yourself from unrealistic
Switch off your internal negative voice.
Switch off that.
If you have an internal negative voice, and a lot of people do, especially Enneagram 1s, they criticize themselves constantly. And every Enneagram 1 I've talked to, I say, you've got an internal voice that criticizes you. And they always like Ryan and everything. They say, well, everyone does. I said, I don't. That's like an internal voice trying to get me to do all the bad stuff.
Yeah,
never
all the pattern interrupts.
It's way to
that
go,
annoy
Mike.
people.
Yeah. So switch off your internal negative voice and start thinking in terms of what is possible.
Thank you for that last part of the sentence, because when we did a video, I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago. It's on YouTube, and maybe we'll put a link in the description.
It's on the
if we can
YouTube
remember
and
here.
that.
But there's a video that we did about stress reduction techniques, and one of them is to stop thinking about limitations, and start thinking about possibilities.
Possibilities,
right? Because there are things in your life. For this, we may have podcasted on this too.
We may.
I'm not sure. But if you think about all of the limitations, that's essentially a version of negative self-talk, right? Oh, I never get out of the house.
It won't work.
Oh, no. I can get out of. I can go to the park. I can go on a bike ride. What are all the things I can do? I don't go out of the house. Why am I obsessing? Oh, I never make time for myself.
Well, remember I told you earlier in this very podcast about, she's found out her husband is running around on her.
Yeah.
That same woman had the most negative external talk all the time of anyone I've ever met in my life. Now, it could be a guy. It could be someone like Bitcher, the guy.
Absolutely.
But it was her. And it was literally this, Chris. Well, we're all going to go out to this nice restaurant. Do you want to come check out this new restaurant? No, it probably won't be very good.
Probably won't be very good.
Okay,
yeah.
well, why don't we go to this movie? Oh, there won't even be any parking. It's just there was always a reason why you couldn't have fun.
Where else will there be no parking? Where else will it probably suck to eat tonight? Just keep asking questions like that to piss her off. That is a really devastating way to absolutely guarantee yourself a crappy life.
It sucks. And people won't hang around with you if you're pathologically negative. They just won't.
I would agree with that.
I sure as hell won't.
All right. So before we go to the empowering question, let's make sure we give a super quick wrap up of what we just covered, because we're not going to wrap it up again in the next podcast.
I'm going to leave you to that. Go ahead.
All right. So first of all, I'll skip the wrap up from 182 because we already talked about it at the beginning. So new points on this podcast. Let's go through them real quick, and I'll bring them up, and you give like a one-liner summary.
Absolutely.
So, okay, the envelope trick.
The envelope trick, pretending something was written down and it wasn't. And unless you tell me what's in this envelope, we are through.
Okay.
There's nothing in the envelope.
Absolutely. The make a first impression by smiling.
Well, remember, the order that information is retrieved and understood and taken in is crucial. So you start with a powerful first impression, eye contact, a warm smile. You don't look like a lunatic, but when you do this, you're setting a lens that they're going to then view the rest of the conversation
Absolutely. The specificness, the wording that you choose.
Specificity.
Smash versus hit.
through. Right. The words you choose will affect everything. So
It'll affect
choose your words carefully.
The imagery that people make about what happened, things like that. Okay. Comparisons. So showing off the more expensive pool table first.
Right, because then the one that you're going to buy looks like it sucks, and you're going to want to trade up to a better one. And it's the same when you see a really attractive person. That will color the next person you see will not look so great, even if you thought they were super hot. It's kind of interesting.
Absolutely, which is why a real estate agent usually shows the dump first, right? The house that's a dump, then they take them to the better house.
Interesting, because then the better house,
the other
having
way
looked
around.
at the dump,
Yeah.
would look so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. That's very smart.
Spectrums, see? And your 10-minute brainstorming session, basing things on intuition of what you want in your life.
I like that.
Yeah,
Take
there we
10
go.
minutes, put the stuff, the pauses. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Feel free to dream. It's only 10 minutes. Throw the stuff and then prioritize. Which one are you going to do first?
Make sure your expectations are realistic. Make sure that you can imagine a plan on how to achieve them. If
Yeah.
you can't, it's maybe not realistic.
And remember, we're back to how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Realistic plan, but systematically, sequentially following the steps, and you will get there.
And then finally, switch off your internal negative voice. In fact, we can say generally, it's a good idea to word things in the positive instead of saying it's not a good idea to word things in the negative.
Well, my wife always says, I said, what about this? Oh, there's mosquitoes in and the cat's going to start scratching, and that's not good. And I always say, what is it? She, what do you mean? I just said it's not good. I said, say it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Because it could be neutral.
Do you remember? I'll tell you a quick story before before the empowering question here. So
Let's have a little dose.
NLP training many years ago. Chris Keeler was teaching the class, and we were just getting started. And I think I put my car keys somewhere, and I said, "Remind me not to forget my car keys." And he goes, "Wouldn't it be easier to just remember them?" And I thought,
I just learned
But it was
something.
one of those moments that I never forgot. I always remembered, in fact.
It's funny because you just reminded me, serious. I was thinking about Chris Keeler this morning on the way here. I was listening to White Zombie in the car.
Nice.
And Chris and I were both doing a training at the Ontario Police College. I was doing one of their advanced interviewing trainings, and we were zooming there in the car in 2001, and we had White Zombie blasting. And he said, I feel like I'm hanging out with another cop. I said, thanks,
Always
man.
remember the good things in your life. Always remember to talk positive instead
And
of
always
negative.
enhance the worst things.
All right.
Only then
So-
can you truly understand them.
Okay, here we go.
Kidding. All right, give us a question.
Here is your empowering question. Ask yourself, which of Dr. Lieberman's communication tools or psychological hacks are you going to begin applying consistently in your life starting right now?
Very Ericksonian. That's
There we
nice.
go. I was going to go now.
I have a short MetaFIVE for you. It's,
All right,
it's
which
a-
is like a metaphor.
Only one
but
better. It's a well-known joke, but I'd never heard of it until 1995 when I was in Australia on tour, doing
Okay.
a lot of gigs. And my road manager, Kingsley, had a great sense of humor. We passed a house where they had a garden gnome on the front lawn.
Garden gnome.
You know, they're all beautifully
Yes.
colored and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And he said him and his friends used to kidnap them. Have you seen this?
No.
They'd kidnap someone's gnome. They'd get their address and everything. And about 2 weeks later, they'd send them a photograph of the gnome, like at some spot. You know, like if someone was traveling, they'd take the gnome with them. So, I'm in Paris. I just needed a bit of a vacation. There's the gnome by the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, my goodness,
And this
that's
would
way
go on
too
for
funny.
freaking months. Then they'd send a picture of the gnome all covered in bandages. He's had a road accident. And I'm at the hospital. He'd take a photo of the hospital. And then they get a letter and it would say, back on June the 23rd, flying in from Fiji. Can't wait to get home. And they'd wake up on the 23rd and go outside and the gnome would be back on their lawn.
That is way too funny. Oh my goodness. Way to turn a kidnapping experience into something
Brilliant.
humorous. Thanks everybody for listening to the Brain Software Podcast episode 183. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back for 184. Don't even know what our topic is yet.
Not a clue.
But it's going to be awesome because
Yes.
they always are. At least it'll be awesome for us, because we'll make all kinds of
Yes.
crazy, insane stories and jokes. Visit our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com, if you're interested in either the ultimate of online hypnosis training for any aspect of change in your life. If you want to learn hypnosis to help other people visit MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You can find it on our products page, etc., all over our page. Easy to find. If you're more interested in using this wacky personal change stuff on yourself, then you'll be wanting to check out our personal growth membership. Also on the products page. Very, very easy to find. And okay, until then, we'll see you in the next episode.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Chris. Thanks once again.
And good night. All right.
Sam the Saxon.
Uh-oh.
'Tis a tale of an old Saxon sovereign, is named to a lion-hearted Sam. And he fought for his friends and his foremen, sin he were babe in his prem. Our Sam lived at Castle, at Windsor, with his horses and yeomen on guard. And he didn't reckon much for thunting, but he liked to play darts in the yard. One day Sam were having his dinner, and up rode a party of thanes, and they said, "Come on, Sam, hurry up, lad. We're just having a set to with Danes." But when Sam reached the scene of the battle with a fierce look of war on his face, he rode straight up to an horseman named Albert and hit him on the head with his mace. Now, Albert resented this treatment and were going to give it Sam quite hot. But Sam drew his bow and his arrow, and he shot poor Albert on spot. As someone had seen the occurrence, his name was Oswald the Dane, and he said, "This Saxon swell-headed, I'm on teach him a lesson that's plain." So they set about having a duel, and right thick and fast fell the blows. But neither could gain the advantage, till Oswald tripped up on his nose. He couldn't get up off his stomach, so heavy an armour wore he. And he couldn't get out of his armour, for he found he'd forgotten his key. And in his pocket, Sam found a tin opener, and he began to cut Oswald free. And he said, "If we stop this here fighting, you can come to me castle for tea." So they went to Sam's castle at Windsor. They walked. It wasn't too far. And when it got near Oswald's bedtime, Sam drove him back home in the car. Sam the Saxon by Stanley Holloway.